Good evening, Long Beach community, and welcome to our District Community Advisory Committee for tonight. We are hosting a virtual session for those of you that joined us in the morning. Thank you so much. This evening's session will be the same, where we are going to be covering our learning and acceleration and support plan, along with our local control and accountability plan, and provide some connection for you for our vision and our LCAP priorities. And so joining me this evening are individuals from our district offices. And so I'm going to allow each of them to introduce themselves. I'm Carmen Hernandez, and I have the honor of facilitating our DCAC committee. Mr. Suarez, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate the time. My name is James Suarez. I am the assistant to the superintendent.
Thank you. Mr. Tsai, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is George Tsai, assistant director of the State and Federal Programs Office.
Thank you. And Dr. Salazar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucy Salazar. I am the director for Equity, Engagement, and Partnerships.
Thank you. And we have two other members of the team that help to collaborate with the LCAP and that continuity, Viva Mogi and Renee Arcus, who you may see other nights during other presentations as well. Thank you to Erica Montoya, who's here. She's going to help us monitor the chat. So if you are viewing live with us, we're going to take some time at the end of the presentation to take a look at some of those questions and hopefully be able to answer those. If there are any that we can't answer, we're happy to reach back out to you and have further dialogue with you in that regard. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's presentation. Luckily, through YouTube, if you're watching it live, there's interpretation available in Spanish, Khmer, and American Sign Language. Even if you're watching it on a future date, it's recorded in all three languages, so you're able to enjoy and watch at your leisure. If it's your first time joining us for DCAC, you may be wondering the purpose of DCAC. And so our District Community Advisory Committee is for parents or representatives of individual schools, specifically our Title I schools, but we open it to members of our schools to come and join us. The specific representative for that school acts as a liaison between the district and their school site. We want to make sure that we're promoting parent participation at all of our school sites. We want the parents and the representatives that join us to be able to disseminate information at their school sites that are relative to parent programs. We want to provide access for parents to training and any initiatives, any programs, any updates that are happening in our district. That way we're able to maximize their roles as partners in education. And then as a DCAC committee, we do make recommendations to our Board of Education related to parental involvement funds. And so our agenda for today is we welcome you. Thank you for being here. If we were live, we would be reviewing our minutes. If you go to our district webpage and you do look under DCAC, the agenda is there with a link for minutes of our previous meeting, in addition to all of the meetings that we've had this school year so far. So you're welcome to look at those. And if you haven't joined us for DCAC, feel free to join us. Approach your school site principal and let them know that you're interested in becoming a DCAC representative for your school, and we would be happy to have you. We still have a couple of meetings left this school year, and then we can look forward to having you join us in the coming school year as well. So our meeting will be about the local control and accountability plan. That's a tongue twister for me today, apparently. And we're going to continue showing you the connections, as I said earlier, to our vision and LCAP priorities. We'll have a few announcements, especially an exciting event that's happening on Saturday that Dr. Salazar can tell us about closer to the end, and then that will be our evening. In our space, even though it's virtual, as we're listening through, we're present, trying to minimize distractions. We understand diverse points of view. We share the space that we create. We're assuming positive intentions and a commitment of respect for all. So this is true whether we're in person or whether we're watching, observing, and taking this in virtually, knowing that we're all here with the intent of respect and what's best for our students. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right in to phase 2 as we continue our LCAP input and our drafting as we connect our vision to the LCAP priorities. So I'm going to ask Mr. Suarez to join us as we begin this part of our meeting.
Yeah, so thank you, Carmen. Pleasure to be here today. We are in our second phase for connecting vision to LCAP priorities. So Carmen, if you could skip ahead. We want to provide some context around what we're doing for LCAP and also for budgeting. So if you look at the top line, what you'll see is a state budget process, and in the middle, you see the district budget process. State budget process, we already had a January budget presented by the governor. And at that time, he presented a really nice outlook for schools and school districts. And now we're coming upon May for what's called the May budget revision. And this is really important because this kind of between January and May, our state takes a look at the revenues that are coming in and kind of projects where we are at a later time and how that the governor needs to revise based on those projected revenues. Right now, we're getting some mixed messages. The revenues have been not as healthy as the governor had proposed back in January. That doesn't mean necessarily that the budget, when the state adopts the budget, that schools and school districts are going to get less because they can cut elsewhere. But we do anticipate a cut in the overall budget, and that's the overall state budget. What we are anticipating, though, is with that May revision to be able to base our projected budget for our school district at that point. And then in June, the state must do a full adoption of the state budget. So it's really interesting because when you look at the second part, which is the district budget process, you're going to see that our LCAP is due by July 1st. And so when we get a May revision, and probably looks like middle of May, we have to do some really, really quick work of anticipating what the budget looks like and analyzing what the May revision says in order to create a accurate outlook for our LCAP. And then the financial reporting on the bottom are the types of reporting that we do in our budget office. Truth be told, I am not the budget person. However, I do have a little bit of experience with budgeting. So let's move to the next one, Carmen. So these are our general fund expenses for this current year. And what you're going to see is a total of $1.18 billion on the very bottom. That's a very healthy budget. On this pyramid or triangle, if you will, kind of shows you that $1.18 billion divided up into 5 different areas. I'll start at the top because I'd like to end with where we're going. So the top is $6.2 million in local grants and entitlements. The second part is the state grants and entitlements. That's about $1.77 million. I'm sorry, $177 million. And the next one is federal grants and entitlements, and that's $192.7 million. And if you look to the left of all three, you're going to see some examples of what each of those structures look like. What we're really focusing on today is the LCFF funds, which are the bottom 2 foundational portions of the budget. And if you look at that, that is $801 million. So you can see that the LCFF funding is by far the majority of our general fund expenses. And what is represented there is $126 million in supplemental and concentration grants. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. And the LCFF base which is basically operating expenses for any school district. And all of those funds are represented in the local control accountability plan, which is the LCAP. So if you look on the left of that area, you'll see that that's both those two figures, supplemental concentration and base, give you the $801 million, all represented in the LCAP. So when people talk about the LCAP, that's why it's so important, is because the LCAP covers all of the budgeted projected expenses for the year. When you look over at the right-hand side, you're going to see that white and blue pamphlet. That is called our Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, or LASP. What I'd like you to take away from this is that document is a synthesis of 4 of the 5 areas of our general fund expenses. So when you look, and our budgets and our reports are all online on our district online, but when you read those, sometimes they're very difficult to understand because they look like a tax return or or just very densely written in, not narratives, just a lot of numbers, and you're trying to figure it out. What we've tried to do as a school district is make it simpler. And so I highly recommend looking at the LASP, or Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, because it's going to be very easy to understand, and it's going to share with you the majority of the $1.18 billion in a very easy to read pamphlet that not only has budget numbers, but it also has descriptions of each line item and program. Okay, let's go to the next one, Carmen. And I'm going to turn it over to Lucy. Lucy.
Thank you, Jim. So what we'd like to share in the remainder of this presentation, so thank you, Jim, for that overview of our budget and all the many ways in which our district has programs that are funded through our budget. What we'd like to do for the remainder of this presentation is to share with you how we have engaged with our community, and then we will be able to share with you how we're making those connections between the engagement we've done in the past and this year with our community, and how we have how our district has budgeted for programs and services. So first, I'd like to share with you our schedule, the schedule we're following to ensure that our community feels like their voice has been heard, that they have had an opportunity to engage with us, whether as we are developing this new LCAP for this coming year, or through the visioning process, as well as through the efforts that were made by surveying through Thought Exchange last year. So during phase 1, we had what we would be calling we took a look with our community, what was the voice of what were their voices saying when we had the opportunity to meet with them last year. So for the school year 2021-22, if you may recall, if you were part of any of our budget engagement sessions, we used a thought exchange to gather, the thinking around what were some of the needs that our community expressed with relation to our students. We also had the opportunity to come to many of our parent groups, as well as hold a hybrid community forum. And to close that feedback loop, we produced a community report. If you're interested in any of that work that was done in the past, we have prior presentations from last year during our budget engagement cycle on our web page, which is lbschools.net/LCAP. And another part of this first phase, was we also engaged with our community throughout to help develop our strategic plan. And the first part of developing a strategic plan was to create what we call Vision 2035. And so through the engagement that was scheduled and that I hate to overuse the word engage, but that we engaged in with our community in order to bring together a vision, we were able to get a lot of great information that is also helping inform the development of our budgets, but in particular our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan. And now that we find ourselves in phase 2, we're going to continue this engagement and look for input from our community. But I just wanted to share that, you can look forward to on May 3rd, or if not sooner, as Mr. Suarez would like me to highlight, if not sooner. There will be the first draft of the LCAP that will be posted on our webpage. Again, that webpage is lbschools.net/LCAP. And there you can find not only the first draft of the LCAP, but you will also find a form, a mechanism, a way to be able to share your feedback directly with us. We look forward to hearing your feedback. And we hope that you take the time, because we will be moving into phase 3 shortly after that, which will be trying to refine the LCAP based on feedback we receive, not only from the engagement that we do with our parent groups, but also the feedback we get online, so that we can, in early June, bring it back to our board for approval. And so that's kind of the engagement timeline, the schedule that we are following. And so again, where we find ourselves right now is we're developing the draft for the LCAP. We are using the engagement that we were able to get not only last year through our thought exchange, but also through our visioning process. And we just want to say thank you to our community that came out, to the many, many opportunities that we had for our parents, that we had for staff, and more importantly, that we also had for students. And we're very excited for all of that. So as we move into that, later in our presentation, you'll see how it is that we're making these connections, because our goal is not only to remind you that we are using our visioning process feedback, but that also that we're using the feedback that we received last year, and how it is that we're using those two data sets, if you will, that all that feedback, that robust feedback that we have for the last 2 years, and how it is also that our board, our school board, and their student outcome goals are aligning with some of the feedback that we received, so that those two kind of sides of this slide, Ms. Hernandez, if you can click, and you can just keep clicking. Thank you. You can click again. Thank you. Oh, too far. It's okay. And how it is that our engagement from 2021 and the visioning development of this current year, and the board goals, what we refer to as the student outcome goals, how those two sets help inform, and so that our job as our staff is to develop programs and services that not only meet the needs of our students, but again, that align with the vision, goals, and inputs, and are reflected within our budget. And again, for today's sake, we're kind of focusing on the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan. And just a reminder again for our community, that was part of our visioning community sessions. Part of the visioning process, if you will, was to develop a graduate portrait, to develop an adult portrait, and also to develop a system portrait. And there'll be more said about that in a minute, but I just wanted to remind us and just kind of draw attention to that work that we engaged in. Alrighty. So if we take a look at what happened last year, what did our community say when we surveyed them, when we were able to use our thought exchange in our community forum, and when we met with parent groups? What did the data say, and what rose to the top as priorities for our community? So what were the themes? And so the top 3 themes, based on all that engagement that we did in 2021-22, was that staff training and staffing was a very top priority. And so some examples of that were literacy specialists and nurses. Again, if you could imagine, it would be to, in that, particularly last year, was to still address some of the challenges and that were occurring for our students, in particular, as we were still continuing to come out of COVID and returning to our schools. A second priority was foreign language and other electives, and some examples of that were ethnic studies, and just the idea of offering more electives in middle schools and high schools. And lastly would be the mental health programs. Examples of that were adding counseling, as well as tools for classrooms to support in particular social emotional growth within our students. Thank you. And during the visioning process, what was some of the feedback that during this year we were able to collect as we engage with the community. And again, the Vision 2035 process asked for us, really pushed us to not only collaborate with students, staff, and our community, but we did so in a very, we did it between September and February. We were out at schools, we were out within the community. We called together different groups of our community, and what the community was able to share with us and respond, the guiding questions we were asking our community were, what should our system let go of? And what do you think, what do you currently enjoy and imagine for the future for our students, so that we can then identify priorities and be able to build and be able to create and develop what would be a graduate portrait, an adult portrait, and a systems portrait. And again, we can't stress enough the ways in which we engage with our community was in different manners. So we were able to do collaborative engagement sessions. We were able to meet with a group of about up to 90 community members, which represented not only parents, students, site staff, and again, community members. And through that, through those collaborative sessions that we called guiding coalition meetings, we also separately were able to partner with our schools and just kind of piggyback, if you will, and take advantage and be at different district wide events to ask for some feedback. We're very excited to see that students were able to lead their own sessions and gathering some of this information. And then again, so thankful that our school site principals and our district staff showed up to a variety of meetings. So either at their school site or those that we held across the district. And some of the results of all of this year's current work, as we were developing and gathering information for the vision, also helps inform the development of the LCAP. And the top three themes that rose for graduates were, of course, when we were asking around the question for our graduates, what do we want to be true for our students? So now I want you to consider a kindergartner, a middle schooler, a high schooler. What do we want to be true for those students? And see, these were the top priorities or the top themes that came. So our community said we would like for our graduates, when they leave our system, that they are trustworthy and respectful human beings, that they are resilient, healthy, and mindful, and that they're ethical problem solvers. And so in order to support our graduates, we have to make sure that our adults are also supported. And so what would be true for them? And you'll see that on those three slides. Numbers 1, 2, and 3, that they are resilient, healthy adults, champion for students, and empathetic communicators. And lastly, we also had to be reflective and ask the question, so what do we want our system to be, right? So the system meaning our district, our organization, what system is going to be able to support the adults in order to support the graduates. So we want to make sure that our community knows that we heard them loud and clear, that our system needs to be flexible and that there's high quality learning with real world application, that there's also a culture of inclusion, well-being, and affirmation, as well as future focused facilities and tech infrastructure.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar. And so I will go ahead and I'll focus a little bit on the phase 1 and phase 2 and that time frame of which we engaged with the community. It ended up being a really short window, really a month span, especially during phase 2. And the data points from the visioning process really tell the story of how our team was targeted and intentional in our engagement and our outreach. And so phase 1 was really about gathering input and those aspirational thoughts, things that our district should consider aspirational for the future. And so we gathered 13,000 thoughts. Our key highlight there was receiving input during our student summit, where we engaged with 750 students from all of our high schools and our middle schools at an event at Long Beach City College. And then we took that information into phase 2, in which we said, this is what we heard you say during phase 1. And this is how we are placing that information around the 3 portraits, our graduate, adult, and our systems. And we really want you to tell us if we are going in the right direction. And so we had about 58 sessions, plus a survey. And then we gather data. If you were a part of that, thank you for that. And so all of this is familiar to you when we say data points in which you voted, if you will, on themes that resonated with you. We also had descriptor data points in which you indicated with Post-it notes which of those definitions or descriptors really resonated and supported the theme that was important to you. And we really wanted to make sure that we came back and we asked if there was anything that was missing. And so those were the 455 comments, in which we really thank the community, where they were deeply engaged and deeply mindful, and just letting us know their thoughts. And we really read through each portrait. We read through the votes and the themes, the descriptors and the comments. So thank you for providing that input for us. This here just shows a bit of how we have engaged with our community in the past, and really how this Vision 2035 process and the activities that came and the programs and recommendations that have come out of that really have leveraged themselves for us to be able to continue engaging with our community in a variety of ways. And so each purpose and each situation in which we engage our community can lend itself for use in different strategies. And so when we were informing, we were saying here what's happening. And so we were doing that and providing updates through our website, through our LCAP webpage, and community reports that we've done in the last couple of years, along programs and services in our budget. We've consulted with our community by asking, please tell us what you think. Here are some options. And that was through a thought exchange, through our parent advisory meetings, such as DCAC, such as DLAC, and many others. Thank you for those of you that have engaged in many of our surveys. Thank you to our staff who engaged in staff meetings and site administrative meetings. We also continue to involve our families, our stakeholders, and our community by saying, here's a problem. What ideas do you have? And these were really done through our community engagement sessions, our student summits, our district leaders meetings. And we continue to strive to collaborate and empower. And so our collaboration really happened through our guiding coalition is one example. And an example of empowerment that we are really proud of is our student-led sessions of really coming through and saying, this sounds like it's something that's very important. We want to take charge of that and engage with our peers and find out more of what they feel is important as we lead into not just a vision and a strategic plan for 2035, but programs and services that should really exist to support our students. And so again, with all of the engagement, we really wanted to make sure that all of that with the visioning and strategic plan and areas that were reflected in our community's voice, we want you to know that we really heard your voices. We heard your voices around the needs and the desires for our students. And so our goal for the LCAP and any other district priorities is to ensure that we're providing actions and activities to meet the needs of students. So staff's role now is to streamline the engagement to help inform all of our plans moving forward. And so that's exactly what we want to do in the next couple of slides, is to give you some examples of how those actions and activities can be reflected in our LCAP. So I'm going to ask Mr. Suarez to join us again.
Hi, thank you, Carmen. So we call this the next 4 slides are digging deeper slides. George and I will be presenting the next 4 slides with the same template. So what you see on the left-hand side, and this should look familiar because this was also presented back a little bit this evening. But on the left-hand side of the slide, you see engagement for 2 years. You see last year's engagement, basically the thought exchange, community forum, parent groups. And then you see this year's engagement, which is visioning, which resulted in portraits, graduate, adult, and system portraits. On the right-hand side, you see that student outcome goals. So what's the alignment with goals and initiatives? What we're going to flash up there in a moment with the incredible animation is the programs and services resulted in these 2 engagement years as well as the outcome goals. Go ahead, Carmen. So what you see in the middle now are those arrows pointing to basically engagement, envisioning, student outcome goals really leads us to dig deeper into programs and services that has a budget. And so that budget could be LCAP. It could be state and federal. I mean, it could be, state and federal. It could be local. But we're going to look at one topic. And George is going to look at another topic so we can show you the alignment within the framework of engagement and goals. So in looking at this, if you look on the left-hand side, it says social emotional health. So in 2021-22, that we had the thought exchange, and some of the ideas that share the bubbles right there. SEL, full-time counselors, and more nurse psychologists and social work services. And then in the visioning, we have the 3 portraits on the left, and all of that information for the portraits lead to social emotional health, such as we want resilient, healthy, and mindful self-advocate graduates. We want positive, resilient, healthy professionals in the adult portrait. And for our system, we want a culture of inclusion, well-being, and affirmation. So all of these 2 different years of engagement has led us to, we need to provide social emotional health very intentionally. And as you can imagine with the pandemic, everybody, we know that to be true for our families and students who have experienced trauma within the pandemic. Next slide, please, Carmen. So that's the engagement slide. This slide is going to animate, and we're going to continue to animate. Amazing animation. Okay, stop here, Carmen. So now we're taking a look. The left-hand side we just talked about, which is engagement. The right-hand side now is the student outcome goals. And so where is the alignment with the goals in terms of social emotional health? Well, we have 2 goals here that relate. I'm going to do goal 2 because it's really a very one-to-one alignment. Goal 2 for our district is Long Beach Unified School District students' sense of personal identity, belonging, and agency will increase. Those 3 traits, identity, belonging, and agency, all deal with social emotional health. Looking at goal 1, which is right above that, Long Beach Unified School District students will achieve at least 1 year of academic growth. And some people have asked me, wait a minute, what does academic growth have to do with social emotional health? Well, when you think about it, if you're not healthy, if you're ill, sick, sniffles, or maybe you've had a conflict at home, or maybe somebody who, like a grandparent is in the hospital. All of those things, when you're a student and bring that to school, doesn't lead towards a lot of academic growth because there's all of that other social emotional health that's a burden, and that affects the academic growth. So we see an alignment with goal 1 and goal 2. Also, we have priority initiatives in this district, and this one is absolutely one-to-one alignment. This priority initiative is developing transformative social emotional learning and restorative practices. So the 2 things on the side that you see, engagement and goals, we're going to animate it to show you the budget and how it meets needs of students. So we spoke about at the very beginning the LASP, the Learning Acceleration and Support Plan. And in that document, all of a chapter, Pillar 2, all of it is about social emotional well-being. So when you do take a look at the LASP, you will take a look at Pillar 2, and you will see line items of various programs and services that support social emotional well-being of our students. In addition, when you look at the second thing on the bottom there, it talks about Title I, federal grants. Title I, we fund family resource centers, which are centers located throughout the district that provide counseling, provide resources, provide referrals to agencies for families who need that. Restorative Justice is an LCFF-funded middle school initiative, and our high school and middle school wellness centers, which I think you're all familiar around, which is a stop at a high school or middle school, a very welcoming area with a social worker who, if a student drops by and just says, I need a break, or I need to talk to somebody, or I'm having problems with this, it's a one-stop place where they get services immediately. And we've had a lot of success with those wellness centers. So when you take a look at this slide without the animation, it's a lot to dig into. But if you look at the middle, the programs and services, on the bottom, where it says LASP, Carmen, can you highlight that? There you go. Where it says LASP and all the rest of those things in that particular box, all of those, when you look at the right, all of those programs and services align with Goal 1, Goal 2, and Priority Initiative. And when you look at the left, it all aligns with the thoughts and engagement from last year and this year. So when we talk about digging deeper, this is what we're talking about, a coordination and alignment of programs and services with the community voices and our goals. So I'm going to throw it over to George, who's going to do another example just like this one. Go for it, George.
Oh, thank you, Jim. I'm not sure how we have any more money left after spending billions and billions of dollars on this animation here, but we're gonna muster up what we can to talk about some other things that were priorities as well. So you see here in the 21-22 engagement that English learner support came up as one of the main themes here. Reading and writing supports for English language learners, support for students learning English as their second language. And then we move over to visioning, and it was very similar as well. They wanted for their graduate portrait, they wanted someone who would be able to communicate effectively and purposefully in multiple languages. For the adults, they wanted someone who would be able to adapt their teaching methods to meet individual student needs. And as a system, they wanted students who could be supported to reach their full potential. So combine engagement and visioning. We can go now to the district goals and initiatives that align with it. We've got goal number 4, where students will experience quality core instructional practices and aligned school supports. You can see there's a priority initiative alongside with it, supporting and monitoring English learner progress. How does this look like in terms of programs and services? So you can see here in the middle, you've got funds from multiple sources. You've got local control funding, you've got emergency relief funds, and you've got Title III to support what I'm going to be sharing with you. We talked last year, if you were part of some of those parent meetings or watched the board meetings, we talked about Elevation, which is a platform that we are pretty excited to invest in. This platform provides staff members and sites data dashboards, information about their students so that they can analyze the data, identify students who may need additional assistance, and just find ways that we can try and get them to be proficient in English language so that they can be reclassified. So with this, it was a huge undertaking. It was a big rollout this year. With the help of the multilingual office, we're able to get many of the sites trained. The multilingual office continues to coach sites, provide professional development, and just kind of help sites navigate through that platform. This also helps with compliance. It's just a more effective and efficient way of getting the paperwork all centralized. It is a great resource for lessons and activities that can really help enhance instruction so that students have better access to the curriculum and to the language as well. That multilingual office does so much more than just coach on Elevation. It does really make sure that our newcomers are served. that those that are reclassified are still kept on the radar, monitored, and that their needs are being met. And then they coach sites on just ways to best serve their learners as well. We've got our interpretation office, or our translation unit. They're always at work here. You see them working at this meeting as well. Thank you so much for doing that, to increase that parent access to their children's education. So all of that being said, English learner support is constantly a focus with this goal and this priority initiative from the engagement and visioning as well. We definitely keep it at the forefront and make it definitely something that we are trying to concentrate and improve on each year. So with that, here is the timeline that we have for the board meetings. So in about a week's time, we are going to present the draft LCAP. You will be able to see that board meeting as well as seeing it available on lbschools.net/LCAP. We'll be presenting a little bit on May 3rd. We'll be highlighting programs associated with it on the 17th. We do have a deadline with the state to have the budget and the LCAP approved by July. So you can see our June 7th meeting is going to be the public hearing and the final draft of our LCAP being presented. And then June 21st, we are hoping to get that budget and the LCAP approved by that time. Before that happens, we are really asking everyone to look at the draft LCAP. Let us know what you see as it pertains to some of the priorities that you see. Is there something missing? Is there something that we would need to consider before it's presented again on June 7th? So in closing, just really wanted to thank you so much for being a part of this. We're continuing to work and center your voice to just improve how we can best invest in our students. So we really appreciate you. We appreciate our educational partners for continuing to work alongside us, sharing your thoughts, collaborating through coalitions and engagement sessions. So thank you. Carmen, I'm going to hand it back to you if there's any last words you'd like to have.
Yeah, thank you so much, team. Thank you for being here and expanding a bit more on how our visioning process and our engagement sessions are really able to inform us and how we can connect that with our LCAP priorities. And so at this time, we wanted to go ahead and open it up to see if there were any questions in our chat. I don't see any currently, but I am going to give a little bit of a wait time to see if any come through. As we're waiting, though, I do encourage our audience to go to our district webpage and there look for our local control and accountability plan. You will be able to see the updated or the draft, on May 3rd. In addition, there'll be opportunity for you to provide feedback. Even if you're not able to attend, let's say a parent session, there'll be an opportunity there for you to be able to provide just input, as Mr. Tsai alluded to. And so we look forward to reading through those and taking those into consideration when we are continuing to make those connections with our LCAP priorities, and to be able to bring those back on the 7th and then finally on June 21st with our final LCAP for approval. So we encourage you to get involved. We encourage you to join us and to make your voices heard, because we're very appreciative of the time that you do spend and providing that feedback for us, ultimately for the consideration of our students and their best interest. And so I continue to see that there aren't any questions in the chat. And so for this portion, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to our announcements. I did want to let Dr. Salazar announce a wonderful opportunity that our district is hosting on Saturdays. Dr. Salazar?
Yes, thank you, Carmen. So I just want to share with our community, if you're not aware, this Saturday, we're proud to bring back our Black Student Achievement Symposium. It's our second annual. It'll be held at Jordan High School. If you're not familiar with Jordan, it is at 6500 Atlantic Avenue. It's in Long Beach, North Long Beach. The event is held this Saturday. It is from 8:45 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The title of this year's symposium is Black Student Achievement, a Call to Action. And we just really want to encourage all our community to attend. There will be guest speakers, featured speakers. There will be workshops for parents, for educators, and for our middle school and high school students. So if you have not heard of this event, I don't know how you haven't. We're very excited to bring it back again this school year. And it is a wonderful opportunity for our community, but in particular, as we center the achievement of our Black and African American students, we look forward to discussing not only the social emotional well-being, but also having for our parents, an opportunity to engage with each other, to engage with us. And for our students in middle school and high school, there will be a session around agency, identity, sense of belonging, an opportunity to interact with representatives from some of our historically Black college universities, our HBCUs, as well as some of our local colleges, LBCC and Cal State Long Beach. So if you are available, we would love to have you. We will have our keynote speakers, Dr. Tyrone Howard, who's the Associate Dean of UCLA Graduate School of Education and Information Systems, as well as a director of Black Male Institute at UCLA. So we've got some great people lined up, and we would love to have you. If you haven't registered, that's okay. Just come and join us. There will be childcare. Forgot to say that. That's very important. There will be childcare if your child is not in middle school or high school. So it's a great time for the whole family. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for the opportunity to share about our event.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar. And so we encourage you, if you haven't joined us for a DCAC meeting, our next meeting is May 25th at 9:30 a.m. at our Teacher Resource Center. You can always find those updates under Parent University, under all of our parent groups. And that evening, we are having our Parent Connection as well. And so we would invite you to continue to look on our district webpage, look for those updates, look for the opportunity to read through the LCAP draft and an opportunity to provide further input, further insight, and comments. So thank you for taking the time to be with us, whether it's tonight or whether you're watching us sometime in the future. And we look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you so much.